The sun hadn't even broken over the horizon at Naval Amphibious Base Coronado when Lieutenant Maya Reeves hit the cold Pacific water for her morning swim. 5 a.m. every single day. No exceptions. She didn't do it because it was required. She did it because she had something to prove. Maya was one of only 3 women who had made it past the initial screening for the Navy SEAL Basic Underwater Demolition Training. BUD-S, they called it. The hardest military training program in the world. Most men quit within the first week. The instructors said it broke even the toughest soldiers, but Maya wasn't most people. She was 31 years old, former Division I swimmer, a Navy officer with 6 years of service. She'd deployed twice to the Middle East as an intelligence officer. She'd earned her spot here. She'd passed every test, every physical requirement, every psychological evaluation. And still, every single day she had to prove she belonged. Especially to men like Chief Petty Officer Derek Hale. Hale was a legend at Coronado. 12 years as an active SEAL, 3 deployments to Afghanistan, 2 to Iraq, Silver Star recipient. The guy had seen combat most people only watched in movies. He was an instructor now, training the next generation of SEALs, and he hated that Maya was there. He never said it directly. He didn't have to. It was in the way he looked at her during drills, the way his jaw tightened when she completed an obstacle course, the way he shook his head when her name appeared on the performance rankings, always near the top, never quite good enough for him. The first time Maya heard him say it out loud was on week 3 of training. Hell Week hadn't even started yet, but the days were already brutal. 20-hour training sessions, ocean swims in freezing water, log drills that left her shoulders screaming, runs on soft sand that destroyed even the strongest legs. Maya had just finished a 4-mile ocean swim. Her time was good. Not the fastest, but solid. Top 5 in her class of 47 candidates. She pulled herself onto the dock, chest heaving, salt water stinging her eyes. That's when she heard his voice. She won't make it. Maya turned. Chief Hale stood 20 feet away, talking to another instructor. He wasn't whispering, wasn't trying to hide it. I've seen her scores, the other instructor said. She's keeping up. Hale shook his head. Doesn't matter. When it gets real, when bullets are flying and you need someone to drag your wounded body out of a firefight, you think she's got the strength for that? You think she can carry a 200-pound man with full gear on her back? Maybe, the other instructor said. No. Hale's voice was flat, cold, certain. Women don't belong in the SEALs. This isn't about politics or equality. It's about survival. It's about the men next to you trusting that you can do the job. And when she fails, and she will fail, it's not just her life on the line, it's everyone's. Maya stood there dripping wet, fists clenched. She wanted to scream, wanted to march over and tell him exactly how wrong he was. But she didn't, because that's what he wanted. He wanted her to be emotional, to lash out, to prove every stereotype he already believed. So instead she walked past him in silence, head high, and went to the next drill. But his words burned in her chest like acid. The weeks that followed were hell. Actual Hell Week came during week 4. 5.5 days of continuous training. No sleep. Constant physical torture designed to break the human spirit. Candidates quit in waves. Grown men, tough as nails, walked up and rang the brass bell that meant surrender. Out of 47 candidates, only 19 made it through. Maya was one of them. Hale said nothing, but she saw it in his eyes. Disappointment, like he'd been hoping she'd fail. The other 2 women in her class didn't make it past week 6. One got injured, stress fracture in her hip. The other quit during a particularly brutal dive training session. And then it was just Maya, the only woman left. The pressure became unbearable. Every mistake she made was magnified. Every stumble, every slow time, every moment of weakness was noticed, judged, whispered about, but every success was ignored. She finished second in a 10-mile ruck march. No one congratulated her. She scored expert marksman in pistol qualification. Hale walked past her target without a word. She carried a 220-pound dummy off a simulated battlefield faster than half the men in her class. Hale checked his watch and moved on to the next candidate. It was like she was invisible, or worse, like she was a problem he was waiting to solve itself. Then came the pool. Pool drills were some of the most dangerous parts of SEAL training. Dive harassment, they called it. Candidates had to swim underwater while instructors attacked them, ripped off their masks, tied their air hoses in knots, held them down. The goal was simple: don't panic. Fix your equipment underwater. Stay calm. Surface alive. Panicking meant failing. Failing meant going home. Maya had done well in pool drills so far. Her swimming background helped. She was comfortable underwater, calm, efficient. But today was different. Today, Chief Hale was in the pool. She saw him watching her as she geared up. Saw the look in his eyes. He was going to test her. Really test her. The whistle blew. Maya dove in, air tank on her back, regulator in her mouth. The pool was 15 feet deep, cold, chlorinated. She descended smoothly, controlling her breath. Then Hale was on her. He came from behind, fast and aggressive. Ripped her mask off first, standard procedure. Maya stayed calm, felt for it, started to reposition it. But then he grabbed her air hose and yanked it out of her mouth. Still standard. She reached for it, following her training. Felt the hose, found the regulator, started to clear it. But Hale wasn't done. He grabbed her tank harness and flipped her upside down, spun her in the water, disoriented her. Maya's lungs started to burn. She reached for her backup regulator, found it, put it in her mouth. Hale ripped it out. Then he tangled her primary air hose into a knot. This wasn't normal harassment anymore. This was dangerous. Maya's vision started to narrow. Her chest was screaming for air. She had maybe 30 seconds before her body would force her to inhale. Underwater, that meant drowning. She felt for the knot in her hose. Fingers shaking, lungs on fire. But Chief Hale wasn't finished. He grabbed her weight belt and held her down at the bottom of the pool. Maya's eyes went wide. She looked up at him through the blurry water, and for just a second, she saw something in his face. He was proving a point. She couldn't hold on, couldn't think straight. Her body was in full panic mode, screaming at her to breathe, to surface, to quit. And then, with the last bit of control she had left, Maya made a choice. She stopped fighting the knot. Instead, she ripped the entire tank off her back, shoved it toward Hale, and rocketed toward the surface. She broke through, gasping, coughing alive. Safety instructors were already moving toward her, but Maya waved them off. "I'm fine," she choked out. "I'm fine." She looked down into the water. Chief Hale surfaced a moment later, her tank in his hands. He looked at her with something she hadn't seen before. Not respect, but maybe surprise. "You surfaced," he said. "I survived," Maya shot back, water streaming down her face. Hale's expression went cold again. "Barely." He climbed out of the pool and walked away. But Maya knew something had shifted. He'd tried to break her, and she hadn't broken. Not yet. The pool incident became legend overnight. By morning, every candidate in Bud's training had heard about it. The instructors talked. The safety officers filed reports. And the other trainees whispered. Some looked at Maya with new respect. Others looked at her like she was a problem waiting to explode. Chief Hale said nothing publicly. But Maya knew he'd been questioned. She'd seen him in the training office the next day. Door closed, voices raised behind the glass. When he emerged, his face was stone. He looked at Maya across the compound. She looked right back. Neither of them blinked. The message was clear. This wasn't over. Training intensified as they moved into Week 10. Combat diving, underwater navigation, nighttime ocean insertions. These were the skills that separated SEALs from every other special operations unit in the world. The ability to approach a target completely unseen, underwater, in the dark, in hostile waters. It required trust. Trust in your equipment. Trust in your training. And most importantly, Trust in your swim buddy. Every SEAL operation involving water was done in pairs. Swim buddies. You checked each other's gear, watched each other's backs. If something went wrong underwater, your swim buddy was the only thing standing between you and death. The instructors assigned partners randomly. Maya had rotated through several swim buddies over the past weeks. Some were good, professional. They did the job. Others were less welcoming. One guy, Patterson, had deliberately swum away from her during a night navigation exercise, left her alone in the dark ocean. She'd completed the course anyway, solo, and he'd been disciplined. Another candidate, Rodriguez, was solid, respectful. He treated her like any other teammate. Maya appreciated that more than he knew. But then came week 11. The assignments were posted on the board outside the training building. Maya scanned the list for her name. When she found it, her stomach dropped. Reeves, Hale. She read it 3 times, hoping she'd misunderstood. But there it was. She was partnered with Chief Petty Officer Derek Hale. Not as instructor and student, as swim buddies. Hale was going through a recertification course, something all active SEALs did periodically to maintain their status. For the next 2 weeks, he'd be training alongside the candidates, and Maya was his partner. Their first dive together was the following morning, 0400 hours. Still dark. The ocean was rough, waves crashing against the shore with enough force to knock a person off their feet. Maya geared up in silence. Hale did the same, 10 feet away. Neither spoke. The other candidates watched nervously. Everyone knew the history between them. Everyone expected fireworks. But Maya had learned something over the past 11 weeks. Control your emotions or they'll control you. She checked her equipment twice. Tank regulator, depth gauge, compass fins. Everything secure, then she walked over to Hale. Ready for buddy check, she said. Her voice was calm, professional. Hale looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. They went through the process in silence. Maya checked his equipment. He checked hers. Every strap, every hose, every buckle. He was thorough. She'd give him that. When they finished, the instructor gave the signal. Water insertion in 2 minutes. This is a 5-mile underwater navigation course. You'll be deployed from the boat 1 mile offshore. Navigate to the target coordinates, plant your marker, and return to the extraction point. Communication underwater will be hand signals only. Stay with your swim buddy at all times. If you get separated, surface immediately and fire your flare. Questions? No one spoke. Good, move out. The boat ride out was brutal. Waves crashed over the bow, soaking everyone. The sky was still black, no moon, no stars. Just darkness and the roar of the ocean. Maya sat across from Hale. He was checking his compass, adjusting his watch, running through his mental checklist. She did the same. When they reached the insertion point, the instructor shouted over the wind. Go, go, go. Pairs of divers rolled backward off the boat into the churning black water. Maya and Hale went together. The cold hit her like a fist. Even through her wetsuit, the Pacific Ocean at night was merciless. She'd been in this water 100 times, and it never got easier. She descended to 20 feet, equalized her ears, and checked her compass. Hale appeared beside her in the darkness. He gave her the signal. Ready? She signaled back, ready, and they started swimming. Underwater navigation at night is one of the most disorienting things a human can experience. No light, no sound except your own breathing. No sense of up or down once you're neutrally buoyant. All you have is your compass, your depth gauge, and your training. Maya counted her kick cycles. Every 20 kicks, she checked her compass, adjusted her heading, checked her depth. Hale swam beside her, steady and precise. For the first mile, everything went smoothly. They were moving at a good pace, on course, working together like a machine. Maya hated to admit it, but Hale was an excellent dive partner. He stayed in position, kept pace, checked in with her regularly. No drama. No games. Just 2 professionals doing a job. But then the current shifted. Maya felt it immediately. A strong lateral pull dragging them east of their course. She adjusted, angling into the current to compensate. Checked her compass. They were drifting. She signaled to Hale, current. Adjust heading, he signaled back. Agreed, they both corrected, swimming harder now. Fighting the ocean. but the current was stronger than either of them expected. Maya checked her compass again. They'd been pushed 200 yards off course. She signaled to Hale. "We need to surface, reorient." But Hale shook his head. He signaled, "No, continue, we can correct." Maya disagreed. They were burning air fighting this current. If they didn't surface and reorient, they'd miss the target entirely and run out of air before extraction. She signaled again, "Surface, now." Hale's eyes narrowed behind his mask. He signaled, "Negative. Follow me." And he swam forward, expecting her to follow. Maya hesitated. Every instinct told her they should surface. But Hale was the experienced SEAL. 12 years of active duty. Hundreds of combat dives. Maybe he knew something she didn't. She made a choice. She followed. They swam for another 15 minutes, fighting the current. Maya's arms were burning. Her legs felt like lead. She checked her air gauge halfway through her tank. They still hadn't reached the target coordinates. She was about to signal Hale again when he suddenly stopped. He checked his compass, looked around in the darkness, then checked it again. His body language changed. Maya saw it immediately. Something was wrong. Hale signaled, "Lost position. Need to surface." The exact thing Maya had suggested 20 minutes earlier. She wanted to scream. They'd wasted air, wasted time, and now they were even more off course. But underwater, there was no time for arguments. She signaled, agreed. Surface. They both started ascending. But as Maya rose, she noticed something. Hale was ascending too fast. You never ascend quickly in scuba diving. The air in your lungs expands as the pressure decreases. Ascend too fast and you risk an embolism. Air bubbles in your bloodstream. It can kill you, Maya signaled frantically. Slow down. But Hale wasn't looking at her. He was looking at his air gauge. And then Maya understood he was out of air, or almost out. That's why he was rushing to the surface, but they were still 60 feet down. 60 feet was survivable if you stayed calm. You could do an emergency ascent, exhaling continuously as you rose, and probably be fine. But if you panicked, if you held your breath, if you shot to the surface like a rocket, you'd die. Maya kicked hard, closing the distance between them. She grabbed Hale's arm. He spun toward her, eyes wide behind his mask. She could see the panic starting to set in. She made a decision in half a second. She pulled her backup regulator from her chest, the one every diver carries for emergencies, and shoved it toward his face. Hale stared at it for a moment, sharing air underwater. It's called buddy breathing. It's dangerous. It requires absolute trust. One regulator, two divers. If either person panics, both can die. Hale's eyes met Maya's. She signaled, "Breathe. Slow." For a long moment. He didn't move. Then, with no other choice, he took the regulator. He breathed. Once. Twice. His body started to relax. Maya watched him carefully. Then she signaled, "Slow ascent. Together." Hale nodded, and together, sharing her air, they started to rise. Maya controlled the ascent. 15 feet per minute, slow and steady. Every few seconds they passed the regulator back and forth. She breathed. He breathed. She breathed. He breathed. It was the most intimate act of trust two divers could share. Your life in someone else's hands. They reached 40 feet. 30 feet, 20. Almost there. Maya's own air was running low now. Sharing with Hale was draining her tank faster than planned. But she kept her breathing calm. Controlled. At 15 feet, they did a safety stop. 3 minutes to let their bodies adjust. It felt like 3 hours. Finally, they surfaced. The sun was just starting to rise, painting the sky purple and orange. Maya pulled her regulator out and gasped. Beside her, Hale did the same. They floated there in the rolling ocean. Breathing hard, the support boat spotted them and started moving their direction. Hale turned to Maya. His face was unreadable. "You," he started. His voice was hoarse. "You gave me your air." Maya looked at him steadily. "You're my swim buddy," she said simply. "That's the job." Hale stared at her. For the first time since they'd met, he had no response. The boat arrived and they climbed aboard. The instructors checked them over, filed the incident report, documented the equipment failure in Hale's tank. Maya sat wrapped in a towel, exhausted, across the boat. Hale sat in silence, but when they made eye contact, Something had changed. He nodded once, just once. It wasn't an apology. It wasn't respect, not yet, but it was acknowledgement. She'd saved his life, and he knew it. The story of what happened in the water spread through Coronado like wildfire. By evening, everyone knew. Lieutenant Reeves had saved Chief Hale's life, shared her air, controlled the ascent, brought him up safely when his equipment failed. The reactions were mixed. Some of the candidates looked at Maya differently now. There was respect in their eyes. She'd proven something that couldn't be argued with. When it mattered, when someone's life was on the line, she'd done the job, but others remained skeptical. It was just a training dive, one guy muttered in the chow hall. Not like they were getting shot at. Equipment failure, another said. Could happen to anyone. Doesn't prove she's SEAL material. Maya heard the whispers. She ignored them. She'd learned a long time ago that some people would never be convinced. They'd find reasons to dismiss her, to minimize her accomplishments, to move the goalposts every time she cleared them. So she stopped trying to convince them. She focused on the only thing she could control, being better every single day. But the person whose reaction mattered most was the hardest to read, Chief Hale. For 2 days after the incident, he said nothing to her, not in training, not in passing, not even in the debriefing with the safety officers. He filed his equipment failure report, completed his medical clearance, and returned to his instructor duties as if nothing had happened. Maya didn't know what she'd expected. A thank you, maybe. An acknowledgement. Something. But Hale was a stone wall, until the third day. Maya was running the obstacle course, one of her final timed qualifications before graduation. She was halfway through, arms shaking as she climbed a rope wall, when she heard a voice below. Your left foot is slipping. She looked down. Chief Hale stood at the base of the wall, arms crossed, watching. Adjust your position, he said. Put more weight on your right side. Maya blinked in surprise. Instructors didn't usually give advice during timed runs, but she made the adjustment. Immediately, the climb became easier. She reached the top, swung over, and dropped to the cargo net on the other side. When she finished the course, her time was personal best. Hale was waiting at the finish line. Better, he said simply. Then he walked away. It wasn't much, but for Hale, it was everything. Over the next 2 weeks, something shifted. Hale didn't become warm. He didn't suddenly start cheering for Maya or treating her like a favorite, but he stopped trying to break her. Instead, he started training her. Really training her. He corrected her form on the pistol range, showed her a better way to carry heavy equipment during ruck marches, taught her techniques for underwater navigation that weren't in any manual. He pushed her harder than anyone else, demanded more, accepted nothing less than perfection. But it wasn't cruelty. Anymore, it was preparation. You're going to be held to a higher standard than anyone else, he told her one morning after a brutal training session. That's not fair. That's not right. But that's reality. Every mistake you make, people will say it's because you're a woman. Every success, they'll call it luck or politics. So you can't just be as good as the men around you. He looked at her directly. You have to be better. Maya met his eyes. I know, Hale nodded. Good. Then let's get back to work. Graduation from Bud S was 3 weeks away. Out of the original 47 candidates who started, only 11 remained. Maya was one of them. She'd survived Hell Week, survived dive training, survived combat conditioning and weapons qualifications and land warfare. She was going to become a Navy SEAL, the first woman to ever complete the program. The press was already circling. The Navy had kept the story quiet so far, not wanting to put pressure on Maya or turn her training into a media circus. But word was leaking out, a female SEAL candidate. On the verge of making history, the attention made Maya uncomfortable. She didn't want to be a symbol or a trailblazer or a political statement. She just wanted to do the job, but she knew that wasn't how the world would see it. Then, 2 weeks before graduation, everything changed. The call came in at 0300 hours. Maya was asleep in the barracks when the alarm sounded. Emergency muster. All candidates and instructors to the briefing room immediately. She dressed in 90 seconds and ran. The briefing room was chaos. Phones ringing. Officers shouting. Computer screen showing maps and satellite imagery. The base commander stood at the front of the room, face grim. "Listen up," he said. "We have a situation." The room went silent. 40 minutes ago, a civilian research vessel capsized 12 miles off the coast. The boat was doing marine biology work. 6 people on board. "We've received a distress signal, but contact was lost 8 minutes ago." He pulled up a map on the screen. Coast Guard has 2 helicopters in the air, but weather conditions are deteriorating rapidly. Heavy fog, 6-foot swells, visibility near zero. They can't get a good visual on the wreck site. He paused. "We're launching a dive rescue team. This is a real-world operation. Volunteers only. It's dangerous, conditions are terrible, and we don't know what we're going to find down there." He looked around the room. "Who's in?" Every hand went up, every single one. The commander nodded. "Good, but I only need 4 divers. 2 teams of 2. Chief Hale, you're team leader. Pick your people." All eyes turned to Hale. He didn't hesitate. Rodriguez, Patterson, and Reeves. Maya's heart jumped. He'd chosen her for a real mission. Some of the other candidates looked surprised. A few looked angry, but the commander just nodded. "Gear up. You launch in 10 minutes. The helicopter ride to the site was rough. The fog was so thick they could barely see past the windows. The pilot was flying on instruments alone, navigating by GPS and radar. Maya sat in her dive gear, running through her mental checklist across from her. Chief Hale was doing the same. Rodriguez and Patterson were quiet, focused. Everyone knew the stakes. 6 people in the water, probably injured, possibly trapped in the wreckage. Every minute counted. 2 minutes. The pilot shouted over the roar of the rotors. Hale looked at his team. "We don't know what we're going to find down there," he said. "The boat could be intact or in pieces, could be floating or sinking. People could be trapped inside or scattered in the water. We search in pairs. Rodriguez and Patterson, you take the north sector. Reeves, you're with me. We take south." He looked at Maya. "We find survivors, we get them to the surface. 1 at a time if we have to. Safety protocols still apply, but speed is the priority. Understood?" Everyone nodded. "Good. Let's bring these people home." The helicopter descended through the fog. When they were 20 feet above the churning ocean, the side door slid open. Maya could see the wreckage below. The research vessel was capsized, hull pointing toward the sky, already half submerged. It was sinking fast. "Go, go, go," the crew chief shouted. One by one, they jumped. Maya hit the water hard, the cold shocking even through her wetsuit. She surfaced, oriented herself, and saw Hale beside her. "Dive," he shouted over the wind. They descended together into the darkness. The visibility was terrible, maybe 10 feet at best. The water was murky, full of debris and fuel from the wreck. Maya followed Hale toward the capsized hull. They circled it, looking for entry points, listening for sounds of survivors. Nothing. Hale signaled, going inside. There was a gap in the hull, a tear in the metal where the boat had cracked on impact, big enough for a diver to fit through. Hale went first, Maya followed. Inside the wreck was a nightmare. Everything was upside down. Cables and equipment hanging from what used to be the floor, water pouring in from a dozen gaps. The boat was filling fast, but then Maya heard it. Banging, metallic banging. Someone was alive in here. She signaled to Hale. Sound, 11 o'clock. He nodded. They swam toward the sound, navigating through the wreckage. And then they found them. 2 people. A man and a woman, trapped in an air pocket in what used to be the boat's cabin. The pocket was maybe 3 feet tall, pressed against what was now the floor. The water was rising. They had minutes, maybe less. The woman saw them and started screaming, pointing frantically. Hale swam up into the pocket, broke the surface. Maya followed. "Help!" the woman gasped. "Please! There are 4 more people. They went under when the boat flipped. We couldn't find them." "We're getting you out," Hale said. "Both of you. Right now? But the others, my team is searching. Right now we need to move. This boat is sinking." The man was in bad shape, blood on his face. He was barely conscious. Hale looked at Maya. "I'll take him," Maya said immediately. "You get her." The woman was panicking, hyperventilating. She'd be difficult to control underwater. Hale was better equipped to handle that. But the man was bigger, heavier, dead weight. It would be the harder job. Hale knew it. He looked at Maya for a long moment, then he nodded. Okay, let's move. Maya grabbed the injured man, positioned him in front of her, and put her backup regulator in his mouth. Breathe, she told him. Just breathe. I've got you. The man's eyes were unfocused, but he managed a weak nod. The second dive was worse than the first. The wreck had shifted, sinking faster now. The air pocket where they'd found the first two survivors was gone, completely flooded. Maya and Hale swam through the debris field, searching frantically. 4 people still missing. The water was getting darker as the boat descended. 30 feet deep now. 40. Maya's dive light cut through the murk, illuminating twisted metal and floating equipment. And then she saw something. A hand, reaching out from beneath a collapsed section of the hull. She signaled to Hale and swam toward it. A young man, maybe 25, was pinned under a piece of the boat's interior structure. A heavy metal cabinet had fallen on his leg when the vessel capsized. He was conscious, terrified. His eyes went wide when he saw Maya. She gave him the okay signal. Are you all right? He shook his head frantically and pointed at his leg. Maya examined the situation. The cabinet was heavy, but not impossibly so. The problem was leverage. Underwater, everything was harder. Pushing, pulling, lifting, all of it required different physics than on land. Hale appeared beside her, assessed the situation immediately. He signaled, on 3. We lift together. Maya positioned herself on one side of the cabinet. Hale took the other. He counted with his fingers. 1, 2, 3. They lifted. The cabinet moved, inches at first, then a foot. The young man pulled his leg free. Hale and Maya let the cabinet drop and each grabbed one of the man's arms. Together, they swam him to the surface. The rescue swimmer was ready. Got him into the basket. 3 saved, 3 still missing, but the boat was at 60 feet now and sinking faster. We're running out of time, the helicopter crew chief shouted down. Hale looked at Maya. She knew what he was thinking. One more dive. That's all they had. After that, the wreck would be too deep. Too dangerous, let's go, Maya said. They dove. At 70 feet, the wreckage was nearly invisible in the darkness. Maya's dive light was the only thing keeping her oriented. She and Hale split up. Searching different sections of the sinking vessel, Maya swam into what used to be the engine room. And there, she found them. All 3 remaining survivors. 2 women and a man, huddled together in a small space behind the engine block. They'd found a trapped pocket of air, barely big enough for their heads, but that pocket was shrinking. Fast. Maya surfaced into the tiny space. Help, one of the women gasped. Please, we can't. I've got you, Maya said. All 3 of you. But we have to move right now. We can't swim, the man said. His voice was shaking. None of us are divers. We'll drown. No, you won't, Maya said firmly. I'm going to get you out. One at a time. Do you trust me? The 3 survivors looked at each other. They had no choice. They nodded. Maya keyed her underwater radio. Chief, I've got 3 survivors. Engine room. I need assistance. Static. Chief Hale, do you copy? Nothing. Maya's stomach dropped. Something was wrong. But she didn't have time to search for him. These 3 people were running out of air. She made a decision. Okay, she said to the closest woman. You're first. I'm going to put this regulator in your mouth. You're going to breathe normally. I'm going to swim you to the surface. Just hold on to me and breathe. Can you do that? The woman was crying, but she nodded. Maya put her backup regulator in the woman's mouth. Breathe good, now hold on. She dove with the woman swimming hard toward the surface. 70 feet, 60, 50. The woman panicked halfway up, started thrashing. Maya held her tight. Stay calm, breathe. We're almost there. 40 feet, 30, 20, they broke the surface. The rescue swimmer grabbed the woman immediately. I've got 2 more down there, Maya shouted. And Chief Hale is missing. We haven't seen him surface, the swimmer yelled back. Maya's blood went cold, but she couldn't think about that now. She dove again back down to the engine room. 80 feet now. The air pocket was almost gone. The remaining 2 survivors were holding their breath, faces barely above water. You, Maya pointed at the man. Now! She grabbed him, gave him her regulator, and swam. Her air gauge was in the red. She was running on fumes, but she kept swimming. Up, up, up. She surfaced, handed him off to the rescue team, and immediately prepared to dive again. "Ma'am, your air," the swimmer shouted. "You need a fresh tank." "No time," Maya yelled back, and she went down one last time. At 90 feet, Maya's regulator started giving her resistance. She was almost out of air. The wreck was barely visible now, just a dark shadow sinking into the abyss. She pushed herself harder than she'd ever pushed before. Found the engine room. The air pocket was gone. Completely submerged, but the last survivor, a young woman, was still there. Holding her breath, eyes closed, praying. Maya grabbed her, shoved her backup regulator into her mouth. The woman's eyes flew open. She breathed. Maya turned to swim to the surface, and that's when she saw him. Chief Hale. Trapped under a fallen beam, 20 feet away in the main cabin. He was conscious, trying to free himself, but the beam was too heavy, and he was running out of air. Maya looked at the woman she was holding, looked at Hale. She had maybe 30 seconds of air left in her tank. Not enough for both of them. Not enough. To save the survivor and go help Hale, she had to choose. The choice took her less than a second. She swam the woman to a stable piece of wreckage, positioned her hands on it, and gave her a signal. "Hold here. Don't let go. I'll be right back." The woman's eyes were terrified, but she nodded. Maya turned and swam toward Hale as fast as her exhausted body could move. She reached him, assessed the beam. It was massive. Part of the boat's main structural support. Hale looked at her and shook his head. He signaled, "Get the survivor." "Leave me." Maya ignored him. She positioned herself under the beam, braced her legs against the wall, and pushed with everything she had. Her legs screamed. Her vision started to blur. The beam didn't move. She pushed harder. Blood was pounding in her ears. Her lungs were empty. Her tank was giving her nothing, but she didn't stop. She thought about every person who said she wasn't strong enough, every doubt, every whisper, every dismissal, and she pushed. The beam moved just an inch, then 2 inches. Hale pulled his leg free. Maya grabbed him and kicked toward the survivor. She had no air left. Her body was screaming at her to breathe, but she grabbed the woman with her other arm and kicked for the surface, 90 feet, 80, 70. Her vision was narrowing, going black at the edges, 60 feet, 50. Hale was trying to help, kicking alongside her, but he was injured. 40 feet. Maya's body started to shut down. Her kicks were getting weaker. 30 feet, she wasn't going to make it. 20 feet. And then suddenly, there were other divers, Rodriguez and Patterson, coming down to meet them. They grabbed the survivor, grabbed Hale. Someone shoved a regulator into Maya's mouth. She breathed, and together, all of them, they surfaced. The Coast Guard helicopter arrived 10 minutes later to help with the rescue. All 6 survivors were pulled from the water alive. Maya sat in the military helicopter, wrapped in a thermal blanket, oxygen mask on her face. Across from her, Hale sat with a splint on his leg, his own oxygen mask in place. Their eyes met. He pulled his mask down. "You should have left me," he said. "You could have died." Maya pulled her own mask down. "You're my swim buddy," she said quietly. "That's the job." Hale stared at her for a long moment. Then he did something Maya had never seen him do. He smiled, just barely. "But it was there." "Yeah," he said. "I guess it is." The story of the rescue made national news. 6 civilians, saved by a Navy SEAL team in a daring underwater rescue. The press wanted interviews, photos, details, but the Navy kept most of it quiet. What wasn't quiet was what happened 2 weeks later. Graduation day. 11 candidates stood in dress uniform as the base commander read their names. When he got to Maya's name, the applause was deafening. She walked across the stage and received her seal, Trident, the first woman ever to complete Bud-S training. But what made her tear up wasn't the medal or the applause, it was what came next. Chief Petty Officer Derek Hale walked onto the stage. He still had a slight limp from his injury, but he stood tall. The commander handed him the microphone. "I've been a Navy SEAL for 12 years, Hale said. His voice carried across the assembled crowd. "I've served with some of the finest warriors this country has ever produced. And I've always believed that being a SEAL isn't about gender or politics or making history. He paused. It's about one thing, whether the person next to you can do the job when it matters most. Turned to look at Maya. Lieutenant Reeves has saved my life. Twice. She's proven herself in training and in combat. She's earned the right to wear this trident, not because she's a woman, but because she's a warrior. He looked back at the crowd. I was wrong, he said simply. I said women don't belong in the SEALs. I was wrong. What belongs in the SEALs is warriors. People who refuse to quit. People who would rather die than leave a teammate behind. People who prove every single day that they deserve to be here. He looked at Maya again. Lieutenant Reeves is a Navy SEAL, and I'm honored to serve alongside her. The applause was thunderous. Maya stood at attention, fighting tears. After the ceremony, as people congratulated her and cameras flashed, Hale approached. Lieutenant, he said formally. Chief, Maya replied. He extended his hand. She shook it. You know, he said quietly, I'm going to push you harder than anyone else on the team. Maya smiled. I wouldn't expect anything less. Good. He nodded. Welcome to the teams, Reeves. Thank you, Chief. He started to walk away, then paused. And Reeves? Yeah? Thank you. For not leaving me down there, Maya met his eyes. You're my swim buddy, she said. That's the job. Hale smiled. A real smile this time. Yeah, it is. And he walked away. Maya stood there, SEAL trident on her chest, surrounded by her teammates. She'd proven everyone wrong, not with words, but with action. She'd saved lives, earned respect, become part of something bigger than herself. She'd become a Navy SEAL, not despite being a woman, but because she was a warrior. 6 months later, Maya deployed on her first mission with SEAL Team 7. Her swim buddy for the operation, Chief Petty Officer Derek Hale. When they hit the water together, descending into the dark ocean toward their target, Hale gave her the signal. Ready? Maya signaled back. Ready, and together, they disappeared into the depths. 2 warriors, 2 SEALs, equals.